Hey, what up guys? In this one, we're heading to Salinas of all places, and we're playing at a golf course called The Club at Crazy Horse Ranch. I think this is a super solid track. You shouldn't overlook it. If you have the opportunity to play it, maybe if you're staying in Monterey, I think it's worth the time to make your way out to Salinas and play this golf course. So let's head out the course and see how I did. All right, hole number one is a par 5 that is uphill and a little bit to the left. There's trouble on the left-hand side with the driving range, so obviously I'm going to block it right. This shaded area was still a little bit soggy, and I caught more mud than ball, and as you can see, it didn't go that far. Next up is my approach into the green. It's going to be short and to the right, and on this next shot, you'll see a little bit of pooling water. So I had mentioned earlier that the course had seen a lot of water, and that the greens were running pretty fast, even though they were a little bit wet. That being said, I rolled this one way past the hole, so I have a lengthy par putt coming up here with my Cobra Armlock putter. So here's the attempt. Not bad, still a little bit of meat left on that one, but end up just tapping that one in for my bogey. 1 over after the first. Next up is a par 3 with sand traps short and beyond the green. Luckily, I was short left and didn't have to contend with any of that sand. So here is my chip, and this one ends up being pretty decent, and so I have a good look for my par. All right, here's Milton blocking the camera with his nice figure, and if you didn't notice it, my putt does go in for par, so I'm 1 over through 2. All right, next up is a cool par 4. If you hit it in the right area, it will hit downwards and down the hill, which my drive actually did. And so now I'm set up really pretty for my next shot into the green. So here it is. Here's my shot. And I didn't really take into account the downhill of this approach, and it goes past the flag. So I have a pretty long one for my birdie here. So here's the birdie putt. Hard to see in the shadows, but yeah, end up cooking this one pretty far past the hole. So I have a long one for the comeback. So here's the par attempt. And yeah, I miss it low side and rolls even farther. So yeah, still getting used to these greens, but end up just tapping this one in for the bogey. So I'm 2 over through 3. But so far, enjoying the course. All right, hole number 4. The only thing you need to note is to not go right like my first ball. It hits a tree and kicks down into what we were calling the Valley of Death. And yeah, I end up losing that ball. So here's my provisional, which goes in the direction where it needs to go, which is the left-hand side, because everything kicks off to the right. So now I'm behind the stroke count, and I just want to try to make up for this lost ball. So just try to play it safe. Got onto the green. It does kick pretty hard because it slopes very left to right, and so I'm well past the hole. So here is my bogey putt because I lost a ball, and it goes in, so I'm pretty happy about that overall. So here is a quick little shot of this massively downhill par 3. We were talking about the Valley of Death, so this is kind of an indicator of what that Valley of Death looks like from the last hole. As you can see, it goes way down, and I end up just missing to the left-hand side, but yeah, it's a pretty steep cart ride down, or push cart ride down, and yeah, it's a very, very cool hole. So I'm already kind of blown away by this track. All right, so here's my approach into the green. Thought I was going to break right. Of course, it ends up breaking a little bit to the left, and so I have a decent length putt for my par save. So here's the par attempt. And yeah, I just don't give it enough gas. So yeah, I just end up tapping this one in. But man, like, look at the elevation in the hills and how nice the weather is. It's been a great day at the club at Crazy Horse Ranch. All right, for this next hole, pretty much it's a narrow fairway, very short par 4. Pretty much I just hit it up the left-hand side, which gives me a great entry point into the green. You definitely don't want to be above the hole in this one, like I was in this situation. And so here I have a putt onto the green from above the hole. And yeah, there's just no way I was going to keep this anywhere close. So I gave it a good run, ends up going maybe like 7 feet or 8 feet past the hole. And so I have a long one just to save my par here. So yep, I guess I was just feeling it today with the putts. Goes into the side of the hole and it goes in. All right, here's another short par 4 that's pretty narrow. This one I end up flaring to the right into the other fairway, and I shouldn't really have any chance at getting onto the green here, but I go for it. This green slopes from the front to the back, so keeping it on was not really realistic, but actually I ended up on the green and I had a decent look for birdie. So here's the birdie attempt,
And, you know, I should really just be lucky that I was putting for birdie, let alone making a par from that position on the right. All right, coming up again, shorter par 4. This one I flare out to the right, and now I, get behind the only 2 trees, of course, that come into play. So I have to hit a punch shot through these. End up doing a decent job and getting myself close enough to where I have a good chance to get up and down for my par. Not bad, just punching through there and playing the safe shot. Here's my chip, and I run it past the hole, and I hit it way too hard. So I have a long one for my par save. And yeah, the arm lock coming through in the clutch. So still remain 4 over at this point. All right, 9th hole, par 5. The first, 9th, 10th, and 18th holes are par 5s here. This one has water all up the right-hand side for your second and third shot. So I decide to lay up, and I get really close to like just hitting it straight into the water here. Luckily, it did not go into the water, and pretty much I was like 20 feet from it. So the approach to this green is pretty cool because it also shares a green with the 18th hole. This one I end up chunking it ever so slightly, but at least I'm in the front of the green and have a pretty straightforward up and down. So yeah, just like the other holes, I bounce it onto the fringe and onto the green because it rolls out quite far. And I just clean up my par to be 4 over through 9 holes. Not bad. All right, this par 5 is an interesting tee shot. If you hit it too far, there's a creek that you have to contend with. Also, pull hooking your super hybrid, would not recommend that either. For this next shot, I just hit a simple approach and layup because I didn't want to hit those trees in front of me. So I took a club that I knew I could for sure get over those trees. This next one, unfortunately, hit pretty poorly, and I just hit it short of these bunkers on the right-hand side. So here's my chip onto the green, and I'm playing a match with Milton, actually, my friend who I met on Instagram. And the match, let's just put it this way, it was not going well. So here's my par attempt. Ends up just lipping the putt there, and I'm getting a bogey. So now I'm 5 over through 10. All right, next up is probably the only straightforward hole on this course. It's just a straightaway short par 4. So thinking mentally, yeah, this should be a pretty easy hole. Unfortunately, this next approach, not great. End up being short and to the left, but it ends up going into the trap. So yeah, I have the trap to contend with now, which is not my strong suit. So here's the first sand shot, and the second sand shot I barely get out, and I hit the lip. Luckily it hits the lip because it would have been blasted out of there. And yeah, pretty much I have a long one for my bogey. And yeah, at this point I just want to get off the hole, and I end up just tapping that in for my double. All right, next up, end up pull hooking this one to the left hand side, and unfortunately this leaves me with a shot where I can't attack the green. And yeah, so I just have to advance the ball as far as possible in this second shot without hitting these trees. So I actually made the right play here in my opinion, but this next shot kind of set off a chain of events that really set me off. So here is my approach, end up being super short, and now I have this chip, and I try to get too cute with it, and I'm chunking it. And yeah, a little frustrated there, so I just take out the putter just to try to, advance the ball and not screw up, and didn't put a good putt on it. So I have this putt for double bogey, end up low siding it and not putting it in. And so I end up picking up a triple here that was seemingly just all mental. All right, this next hole is a long par 3. Pretty much hit this pretty good and right towards the flag. And so now I have a decent one at a birdie to try to get back into this match with Milton, which will be on his TikTok. So end up low siding that one to the left and getting a par, but I'll take it. All right, this next hole is really neat. You can go straight for the flag if you want, or play it safe and go out to the left, and that's what I end up doing. This green is diabolical, so I end up hitting it on the wrong tier, and it rolls back. You can see the shot tracer go onto the green, but it rolls back, another 10 feet, and so I have a super long putt, and this was just an awful putt and read. I thought I was going to break really hard left, so I hit it up the right-hand side, and it just stays straight. So I have a long one, maybe like another 20-footer for par, but then I end up blasting it by, and so I have another like 7 or 8-footer just for my bogey. So at this point, I kind of just walk up and try to hit it in. I should have took more time to make it, a bogey at worst, but I end up 4-putt double bogeying on this hole. All right, this next one is a hard dogleg right. I end up swinging pretty hard and pulling it to the left, but it actually leaves me a pretty good angle to the green. So I ended up just playing something low under the wind and punching up an iron, and it ends up being short of this sand trap. And so here's my approach. I bounce it onto the fringe and it just kicks a little bit hard and more than I anticipated, so I have still a 15-footer to save my par. End up missing that, and this is where I end up losing the match to Milton. But yeah, I had a good time and definitely got my butt kicked on this 9-hole match. That being said, still wanted to try to finish strong. Unfortunately, end up pulling this one to the left. So I have a case of the pools that I'm fighting, but I'm just trying to do my best here. Here's my approach from 30 feet off to the left of the green, and I end up hitting this one pretty close. So fortunately for me, it was just a tap in with my wedge, and I'm back on track with a par here. So let's go. All right, coming up to the 17th hole. It's a pretty tough driving hole. It's a hard dog leg right here, but I think I just got away with it because I end up being in the middle of the fairway. But this approach to this green was pretty tough. I end up hitting onto the green, but it ends up kicking off and rolling through it. And so I have a pretty tough chip just to get up and down for my par. So yeah, here's the chip. Look how far off I chipped this ball. And this is with slower greens, mind you, and it goes way past. So yeah, pretty happy with that chip overall, but pretty tough green here. So here's my par putt attempt. And yeah, I end up low siding that one. So just tap in for my bogey, and we're going to the 18th. So I know everyone thinks that on the last hole you want to hit a really good drive and swing pretty hard. I end up hitting it really hard and into this tree dead on. So that being said, I have a long par 5 to contend with now. Second shot, just want to advance it as far as possible safely. End up being a little bit into the other fairway, so I got to get it back into my fairway on the 18th. And so I end up successfully doing that and leaving myself with a 100-yard approach into this green that is shared with the 9th as well. So that being said, here's my approach. Hit it pretty close, maybe only to about 10 feet. So as you can see on this putt, you'll see the 9th flag in the background. And here's my putt for par after that crazy drive. And it goes in. Gotta love it.
All right, as you can see, a lot of variety, a lot of, things you have to think about when hitting off the tee for your tee shots. The greens were soggier and wetter than normal conditions because it had rained quite a bit, and they were pretty brutal. I mean, honestly, like if it was really dry out there, some of those holes would play really tough. So yeah, like the variety, super solid track, had a great time, and if you have the chance, I would definitely check out this golf course. So hope you guys enjoyed that one. Keep chasing. We'll see you in the next one.